Hi there, my name's Carolyn Tate. I'm the author of Brave Women Write and also the founder of the Brave Women Writers Circles. I thought I would start to interview all the women that are participating in the current circle just to see how they're finding it, in the hope that it will inspire you to get writing as well. And today I'm talking to Carly Mulang. She is the Associate Professor at Monash Business School, and she's had over 20 years of experience as an academic writer. So I'm intrigued to find out what she felt, why she joined the circle. Hi, Carly, how are you?
Hi, I'm very good. Thank you, Carolyn.
Thanks for being here today. Let's get into it. Why did you join the circle?
Yeah, I guess I joined the circle to improve my writing. I think that you can always improve your writing and also to write for a different audience. So, a lot of my research has been of academic journals, but I think it's really important that we disseminate our research to a wider audience. So, part of my motivation was to just pick up some of those writing skills to make my writing more appealing, I guess, for a broader audience.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And also, I think also just to learn from someone who is a published author as well. I think that was another one of my motivations, I guess, to learn from you. And I'd obviously read your book as well.
Wonderful. There's definitely a lot of lessons on publishing, which we haven't really got into, but for another conversation. Would you please just share with us what your writing project is about?
Yeah, so my goal over the last few months is to write several articles. One is based on a recent research project of mine that was published in a journal. So I have just finished writing an article which I intend to submit to the conversation. And that is a way for me to, I guess, disseminate the research in more plain language and with broader appeal. And there's also a few articles that I'd like to write for executive education at Monash on some research underlying wellbeing, which is an area that I'm really interested in and an area which I do some research on. So looking at things that people are currently experiencing, like burnout in the workplace, and
Mm,
again, sort of taking research and disseminating it in a really accessible way for others, so that they can read about this latest research without having to go to publications that most people don't have access to.
excellent, thank you. I noticed too in our conversation before this interview, you were talking about how your goals have, you know, not changed, but you have other goals that are important to you as well that have evolved from being in the circle.
Yeah, absolutely. I think just listening to the experiences of the other women and their projects. So most of their projects are not work related. They're from sort of personal reasons. And
Mm-hmm.
I guess it sort of lit a bit of a flame in me thinking maybe I can have more fun with writing as well. Maybe I could write something just for me and not always having that output, I guess, orientation. And so I have started writing a few little things here and there just for myself without any sort of
Mm-hmm.
purpose or goal,
Mm-hmm.
just to sort of
Yeah.
jot down some stories. And I've really enjoyed that. I guess it's a little bit like journaling, but I'm thinking about what's happened in the past. So um, I've found that when I've done that, I've gotten into a flow quite quickly because I've really enjoyed that process. And so I guess it has expanded my goals and realizing that not everything needs to be productive and that you can
Mm,
do things just for yourself. And
mm,
so I think that, yeah, my goals have expanded in that way. So just doing some more writing, yeah, for myself out of, I guess, pleasure rather than work focus.
mm. I think that's nice. We talked about the idea that you don't dance for an outcome. Like if you dance to a song, there's no outcome. You just do it for the joy. And I think writing is a lot like that. It's like you make it a practice or something that you do without necessarily having to have a goal or achieve an outcome. And we use writing as a tool for healing or as a tool for collecting stories that would otherwise get lost, particularly women's stories that do get lost. So yeah, I think that's great to have an outcome, but also to do it for the pure joy.
Because I think
Mm.
I have written in difficult times before, and I've written in a way to sort of get myself through that situation, but I haven't really written in times where I'm fine. Through times. I think it's more something
Yeah,
that I've turned to in harder times to sort of
yeah.
think through situations and make sense of things and work out ways forward. And so I think for me, it's just realizing that you can also get a lot of joy out of writing when you're writing in those good times as well.
Yeah, yeah. One of the practices I talk often about is writing in a sit spot in nature. Like it's pretty hard being in nature not to write with joy, even that, and you also see the grief too, because nature brings both grief and joy to us. But that idea of sitting in the same spot and writing in that spot, it's just bliss. It is for me anyway, and I think some of the women have adopted that practice. I'm really intrigued as to what the value of writing with other women is for you.
Yeah, I've really loved that part. And I think I've learned a lot from just listening to what other people's goals are and
Mhm.
how they've gone about their writing. I've like read a book from one of the women in the group, which I really loved. And yeah, I just think it's really interesting that we come all from very different backgrounds and we have really different goals, but that all of those goals are really worthy and valuable. So
Mm.
just listening to how they've done their routine or their short stories that they're sharing in the circle, I think that's probably been my favorite part, is hearing how someone can say something so beautifully, such a beautiful story in such a short amount of time has been one of my favorite things. And it's made me wonder how I can do that as well. And so I sort of pick up a lot of sort of tips and things from listening to the other
Mm.
women's writing.
Mm.
And I think that there's also that sort of collegiality when we get into our groups and we talk about whatever the topic is, and we really listen to each other. I think that has been really lovely to get that bonding with everybody else and
Mm.
hear their different perspectives. And we're all in very different times of our lives, and it's really interesting to hear.
Mm.
Mm.
Mm. And, you know, even though it's been done via Zoom, there's some women in Sydney, some in Melbourne, there's still that connection that's been created, which
Yeah.
is lovely.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel that connection is, yeah, I feel that that's a really strong connection. It hasn't, you don't feel the distance.
Mm.
I notice.
Yeah, and we are gathering. We've got two gatherings. We're connecting for a day of writing together in a couple of weeks, which will be lovely. And there's also the closing circle where we'll be sitting around the fire circle and sharing our stories and having a lovely lunch, and that will be the closing.
Mhm.
So there are opportunities for the women to connect physically, face to face as well, which is lovely. Just to wrap up, one final question. What's unraveling for you that's surprising you in this group?
I think what really surprised me is changing my goals a bit about why I was in the group. So I came very much with output related goals. I wanted to write these 4 articles, have it 3 weeks each. This is what I want to do. And I sort of didn't think outside of that until I started really listening to a lot of the women's stories, listening to what they were doing. And I sort of thought, oh, most people here are writing for a personal reason. And in one of the sessions, I sort of said, well, maybe I could write more for a personal reason as well. And I was really encouraged by the people in my little group in one of the discussions to change the goals. And someone said to me, you can change them. And I'm like, oh, yeah, I can actually change my goals. That's right. And so I think I have changed my goals in a way because I want to also do more writing for myself. So I think that surprised me. I didn't expect to change my focus and not to be so output orientated. And so I have started writing for myself, and I've felt a lot of joy when I've done that. And so I think that was a surprising thing for me, to realize that you can do something without an expected output or outcome. You can do something just for the sake of it. And I've been really enjoying that. So I've never really enjoyed writing. I've always found writing really challenging and something that, I have to do because I have to have certain outcomes and everything. And so I found that this, it surprised me that I've changed my focus somewhat. And so, I love it.
Wonderful. All right. Well, thank you so much, Carly. I really appreciate your time. And hopefully it's been inspiring for other women who are keen to join the next circle, which kicks off on November the 17th. And I'm really looking forward to seeing you at 8 a.m. on Zoom tomorrow, and then the next week for our day of writing together.
Yeah.
Thanks, Carly.
Thank you so much.
Bye.